Today's Mal and Johnny show will be very different. We have a very special guest, Emily Squires. Now, Emily has been a guest on the podcast twice before, and we've talked about her life with her auntie, Dorothy Squires. But today, we're going to talk about Emily and how she has coped since she's discovered that she has Parkinson's. We started recording really before we started the podcast properly, but that's where we'll start today. What have you done?
I said I've just taken a Parkinson's pill.
That's a good start.
Well, look, we're all here together again. This is the third time of our meetings, and we're finding out a lot more about each other. You know, we're finding out about me having a double jab, Johnny probably to the dentist, spending a fortune, Johnny, I'd have thought.
No, I've got a private.
You've got a plan.
You've got a plan. Yeah, you got a plan.
We've got a plan.
Unfortunately, my daughter decided to put herself on it as well.
Because we all have to cope with various things. We've talked a lot about Dorothy and how she had to cope with the mental strain of losing Roger, and then you know, as she said, little fella against the world, and she had a very down moments, didn't she, Emily? She had a very down moments. They were dark times for her.
Yes. She was always a volatile person and a depressive person, I think, but I think that made it worse with Roger leaving. And when he left, she went to the doctor to see if he could give her any help.
Yeah. And
he gave her what commonly was called Purple Hearts.
Oh, right.
So she had a dose of those, and then he wouldn't give her any more. This was over a fair period of time.
Well, they were legal in those days, weren't they? They were like antidepressants.
Well, of course they were. They were prescribed drugs, like so many of these people in America. They're hooked on prescribed drugs.
Yeah.
So she couldn't have any in the end, but I don't know how she knew a Welsh pharmacist in Bexley Heath.
Oh, no.
And we used to go on trips to the chemist.
Right.
And she used to come out with a load of tissues with a little ball shape hanging from it. And she used to call it her dolly mixtures.
Oh, wow.
And when we got home, there was Purple Hearts, Tenuate Dustpan, Back Bombers, God knows what, Mandrax. Do I mean Mandrax? That's not that plant, is it?
We have no idea what you're talking about in any way. To be honest, me and Johnny, we're just innocents in this world. Innocents.
That's right, it is.
We have
Never
no
take
idea.
the Black Bomber. I took a Purple Heart once. That was Dorothy's fault. Go on, carry on.
She did take pills. People said that she used to drink a lot, but she didn't used to drink a lot. She'd have one drink and she'd be a bit whiffy, squiffy.
Yeah.
But she did take the Purple Hearts.
Yeah, she took Purple Hearts, but then the trouble was she then became hooked on them.
Yeah.
But we think she could have been bipolar.
There's a strong suspicion, a strong suspicion that she probably was, because she used to have highs and lows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was interesting, you know, because Elvis, I did a lot of research on Elvis and met quite a lot of his family down in Tupelo, Mississippi, and they always said it was when he went into the army, to do those late night shifts, the overnight shifts. His mates would give him, take these vitamins, and they'll help you sleep, you get through all the night. And they weren't vitamins, they were amphetamines, and then he got hooked on those, and then once you get onto that, you need the ones to bring you down as well the next time, and so you're in a terrible spiral, and to get out of that, and particularly when people are calling them vitamins as if they're doing you good, I suppose it's a hard thing. But
I remember she gave me one of those black ones once, because she said, you're too fat, which she was always saying I was too fat. I am now, but I mean, I wasn't at the time. So I took one, I didn't stop talking for 3 days.
I'll never forget when we did the gig. You were with us. We were in Newcastle. And the next gig, because we were doing one-night stands, the next gig was Brighton. So Newcastle to Brighton's one hell of a drive,
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll go after the show. I'll just get down as far as halfway to my auntie's or something. So one of the boys in the band said, go and see Doc. I said, who's Doc? He said, the violin player. He's the one with all the pills. So Doc gave me one of these black bomb things. At the end of the show, I was like high as a kite, but I was mentally wide awake, but physically tired.
Yeah.
So I thought, I won't go. I'll go in the morning. There was no point. I was awake all night.
Yeah. And I suppose, the lifestyle that we've had, that because the thing I hated most about those late night gigs was driving back along the M4, windows open, radio on as loud as I can, pinching my legs, slapping my face, just trying not to fall asleep at the wheel. I mean, it must have been a very dangerous thing for all of us. Well, we all did it, didn't we? It was just like, finish a gig at 1 o'clock, pack down the gear, 2 or 3 o'clock, another hour's drive. It was madness. It was madness. Now then, something that Johnny confided, and I don't think it's something that you mind talking about, and I thought it might be nice to talk about that today, is that you look very well, Emily. You look very, very well. And then Johnny said to me, of course, Emily is working through Parkinson's at the moment. And you don't, we have an image of a certain disease, don't we? That people have those symptoms. You don't appear to have those symptoms, but you have the starting of that disease, or you have that disease.
I'm smiling because the worst thing you can probably say to a Parkinson's people is you look very well. You don't look like you've got Parkinson's, because it's like a duck floating on the top and its little feet going like this,
like the clappers,
struggling with the sort of thing. Like at the moment, I actually feel like I'm going up and down on a ship. My head is like vertigoing at the moment.
Right.
And I've just started to shake as well, which I haven't done the other two occasions. No, it's not your
Dr. Mal strikes again.
It'll calm down in a minute. But
it can also be set off by stress, can't it?
I think I've been diagnosed for 2 years now, but I think I've had it for 4 years. Mm-hmm. And I think the start of it was due to moving. I got incredibly stressed when I decided to move from Brighton to here. Mm-hmm. And then things started going wrong with the flat I was selling. I had plasterers in every single room in there. And then my 2 cats died on top of it. And I really adore my little cats. Yeah. And it just all became on top of me. And one day, the front doorbell went, and it was a letter, and it was a solicitor's thing. And I've solicitor's letters to me. Oh. Because of Dorothy and 33 vexatious cases. So I felt this really weird sensation go down the back of my head. It was like everything was leaving me.
Really?
In my essence, it felt like it was leaving me, and I didn't think anything of it. But I remember looking in the mirror whilst I was still packing stuff up and thinking to myself, I'm not me. I've gone somewhere. I'm just not me. Mm. And it took me a year to actually go to the hospital. I did go to a doctor before I left Brighton. I said, there's something wrong. He said, you've probably got essential tremors. I said, I don't think I've got essential tremors. I said, there's no point in making appointments here when I'm moving down to Wales, so I'll do it when I get down there.
It's very difficult to diagnose Parkinson's, apparently. In the end, you had to have that special scan, didn't you?
Yeah, DAT scan showed up, 2 little white. You either have commas or dots, and I think you're meant to have dots, not commas, and I had commas. Mm-hmm. They're the little shapes of the white things that you see. And so they said, I've got early onset Parkinson's.
Yeah. How did you take it?
You're okay, really.
I tell you what, I was relieved, because it's nothing worse than not knowing what's wrong with you. Mm-hmm. And I so then had something to hang the symptoms that I had on, knowing that I had it. And for a long time, and I don't think I thought I had it. I knew I had it, but it's like, I can't possibly have this.
Yes. Yeah.
And I still think I can't possibly have this. I've worked hard all my life, and then I retire. And a couple of years after I retire, you get Parkinson's. I thought, I can't have this.
It's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair. And so that diagnosis came 2 years ago. Is that right? About 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you do next? I suppose you're not unusual in that case. This happens to people, so there must be a system that you go into.
They have a very good system down here in place. It was called Rookwood. They have closed it now and it's moved somewhere else, but Rookwood took all the Parkinson's people from this area, and you go and have various visual tests, really, they do, don't they?
Yeah, all sorts, yeah.
Not so much taking blood from you and stuff like that, or x-raying your head, which I'd had done before anyway. Unfortunately, I don't have the Lewy body Parkinson's, which is the one that Robin Williams had, where you lose your memory, etc. Although sometimes I feel as though I do. But no, I don't have signs of that.
Yeah, because who else has just come up with it? Is it
Paxman?
Paxman, yeah.
Yeah. Jeremy Paxman. And it's one of these things, and obviously when because we talk about show business all the time, we talk about funny stories, we talk about incidents that have happened to us, but in many ways this is really important. I think that we just go through this a little bit, and I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable at all, because when Johnny,
I've stopped shaking now. It's all right.
Stop shaking now.
So
I'm relaxed.
that happens, does it? Sometimes it's
yeah,
bad.
all the time it happens, and the ways I combat it is I've got an adult drawing book. That doesn't mean there's nude pictures in it. It's more technical than a child's drawing pic. So I do that, and I do crosswords as well, which seem to calm me, oddly enough.
Yeah.
It's funny, when you were doing Spanish once, I remember you saying, when you were doing the lessons, you didn't shake at all.
No.
Because your mind was on something else, totally different. Yeah.
It's like something is occupying it, so you don't shake.
Yeah, but she didn't shake all over.
Yeah.
Shaking all over. No, it's just a hand goes down again,
Yes. Yeah. That's remarkable. So,
and I'd had some experience of it, because oddly enough, where I worked, somebody else had it. She had it when she started when she was 50. Well, I was 68 when I started, but she was 50.
Mm.
And I could see when I got it, I thought of her.
Yes.
But she was much worse, because the medication that she was taking hadn't improved to the extent that it does now.
Yes.
So the medication that you take takes some of the symptoms away, which I'm very glad about.
Yes.
And they're discovering things all the time. I mean, they think that Parkinson's, because they don't know, but they think it's something to do with herbicides and pesticides. It's toxins, and they reckon there's going to be a lot more people getting Parkinson's. So it's really important that they have the research to find out what causes it, and to also either slow it down or stop it.
Mm.
Mm.
And I read the other day in the Ben Gurion hospitals in Israel, the University Hospital in Israel, Ben Gurion, they've discovered that they can stop it and make it easier on mice at the moment, and they've patented something. So it's like, watch this space. But it's all about getting money in order to do studies. There's loads of studies. Mm-hmm. I mean, the one who's the most famous one of having it is Michael Fox.
Of course.
The Back to the Future.
Well, he's really bad at it. But I saw him in the film the other day, and he was like all over the place. But he was acting as well. So
but they asked him whether if he thought that they'd get a cure within his lifetime. He said, no, not in my lifetime, but the next generation after that, probably.
Yeah.
It's a question of spending time on studying, what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, what happens is your dopamine cells disappear. They're gradually disappearing. Could have been all the dolly mixtures, actually.
So this stuff
I did actually mention that to them, not the dolly mixtures, but I had taken some drugs in the 60s.
Yeah.
She was a wild child.
It was interesting. I'm not sure if you so call the midwife, not the actual program on Sunday, but the afterwards they did the like a 10-year looking back. And the lady,
I missed that.
Oh, it was really good. And the lady who wrote it said when she started writing, she was writing about polio and diphtheria, and and she said by the time the 10th series had come about, she couldn't write about that anymore because they didn't exist anymore.
That's right.
That's right. I remember iron lungs, pictures in papers of iron lungs with polio people.
There was a girl in school. We had polio.
Yeah.
And so in that 10-year period or whatever the period that was set in, so much medical advances happened with the limited science that they had in those days. So I suppose we live in a hopeful age where more of these incurable diseases might have a chance of being cured.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's something somewhere which will cure it. Yeah. It's just as you say, the funding's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's at the moment the COVID probably is not people for 6.
Yes. Because
all the research places went over to looking for a vaccination, didn't they, for the COVID bug? So they're getting back to normal now, hopefully.
Yeah. So for people watching us this week, it's a very different podcast to normal. Some of them might have family or friends who in the next period will either have been diagnosed with Parkinson's or will be diagnosed with Parkinson's. Advice, Emily, because you...
Don't be scared.
Don't be scared.
No, don't be scared. It's... You just need understanding people around you, because at the beginning I felt that people didn't believe me. because most of the symptoms, there are at least 40 symptoms that you can have.
Things like, I mean, obviously the shaking is the thing that everybody thinks about with Parkinson's, isn't it? That's
well, I went to brush my teeth on one occasion, or many occasions, and I couldn't brush my teeth properly. It wouldn't go, my hand wouldn't go the way I wanted it to. So I got an electric toothbrush, so there's a way out of that.
Yeah.
And I had a problem mixing eggs to make omelettes or scrambled egg. I just could not do it, so I got an electric whisk. So there's an answer there for everything. But what most peeves me are the streets. They're so unsafe for people that have difficulty walking. The pavements are in a dreadful state, and so are the roads. So normally you get off the pavement and walk in the roads, but the roads have got potholes in, and it's really very difficult for a disabled person.
Yeah, affects your mobility, doesn't it?
My balance is all to pot. So it's the things that you can't see, and insomnia and stuff like that, and pain in weird places, cramps. I'm getting cramps in places I didn't know I had.
In those places.
Yeah. But it is, don't be scared. There's always a way around it, but it does get frustrating and it does get hard sometimes, but you go on, don't you?
I think you have to have something to take your mind off as well. You've got to have some kind of purpose, don't you think so? Because I try to motivate you. See, I'm Mr. Motivate.
Of course you are.
I said, what are you doing watching television? Come on, get out, we're going for a walk.
Do you think I'd be here every week if it wasn't for you, Johnny?
I don't know. She plays hell with me. Sometimes I wonder if she rather didn't go down there.
I tell you to go away when you're in one of your, like, you've got to go and exercise. I mean, he's right. Before the lockdown came, I was actually going to the gym 3 times a week.
Right.
And then I wasn't very happy with the cleanliness there about a week before the lockdown. So I stopped going, and I haven't been back there yet. I'm waiting to see what happens.
Yes.
As to when and whether I go back there.
Yeah.
I did contemplate building a gym in the garage, but I thought it's too cold in there. But I might have to do something like that, because another thing with Parkinson's is you couldn't care less sometimes.
Right.
I mean, he says trying to motivate you. I mean, you really think, what's the point? And
you get a bit apathetic.
Yeah. And then it's good to know that it's part of the Parkinson's, because you can do something about it then. Yeah. Well, it's a pain in the arse about.
See, the thing is, I'm Mr. like action man. I get very frustrated with her. I say, come on, man, but I don't realise that she can't do things that she used to do. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's very frustrating, because one of the pills they gave me cleared my head, because it was like a fog. And it's like you want to do something, but your body won't let you. It's quite a weird sensation. Yeah.
But you also got arthritis, which doesn't help.
Oh, yeah. I never know which one it is. That's just like a gift that keeps giving.
I'm just thinking, it's like it must be terrible to buy Christmas presents for. What do you give the girl who's got everything, Johnny?
That's right, yeah.
An electric tin opener.
Electric tin opener. Well, look,
a mobility scooter.
Yeah. Well, I think it's...
A mother had a mobility scooter because she had bad, was it knees?
Yeah, knees.
And when she was 80, she used to do a paper round on a mobility scooter. Her mother was a character, a real character.
As I said, she was in Variety, wasn't she? She was a comedian.
Yeah. So you can imagine going to this 80.
I mean, she used to speak. She got a rain cover for her scooter as well.
Right.
And a rear view mirror, thing sticking out, a horn.
You wish you hadn't got rid of it now. You wish you'd kept it.
I gave it to somebody else. And she fell over in it one day, or rather the contraption fell over, and some workmen apparently had to rescue her. They unzipped the top and retrieved her from there and set the little car up on its wheels, and off she went again.
You come from
terrorising the pedestrians.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, you come from good stock. Obviously, you're not one to give in. Look, thank you very much for sharing that. I think it's been a very interesting. I'm going to find some details about Parkinson's that we can put up at the end if anybody's listening to this. And I mean, is there any organisation that you would go through directly?
Most of the stuff on the internet is very good,
right,
and very helpful.
Terrific. All right. Well, look, got a nice cup of tea now.
And a biscuit.
Go and take your tablets.
Keep taking the tablets. It's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from
me.
It's goodbye from
It's
Emily.
goodbye from me.
We should call it the Emily and Johnny Show from now on. Thanks,
That's
Emily.
right, yeah.
Thanks for sharing your story with us today.
Okay.
God bless.
Ta-ra, Mal.
Bye-bye.
Ta-ra, ta-ra.
And if you would like any more information, you can go to parkinsons.org.uk. Follow all the links. There's a special link for Wales as well. All the information that Emily has spoken about today will be found there too.